Everyone, welcome back to another video. So it's that time of year again when everyone is starting to speculate on what the next Battlefield is going to be and what's going to be called and what's the kind of theatre of war they're going to use. So it's quite interesting watching all of the videos. For example, I was watching some Blue Drake the other day and he was mentioning how we'd like to see a 2142 futuristic vibe. I'm not a huge fan of that myself. 2142 kind of just went over my head after playing Battlefield 2 a lot. I just never really got into that, but you know, it's an interesting point of view. Personally, though, I wouldn't want to see like a reboot of, say, Battlefield 3 or 4, though. Nothing which is like strictly obvious. Maybe, you know, if they went along the armour style of it, not too futuristic, but somewhat in the future, you know, that kind of vibe. But no, I don't really want to see any kind of straight reboots because, quite frankly, I'm still playing Battlefield 3 and 4. If DICE and EA were to produce more of the same, probably wouldn't buy it. I mean, I would, but I wouldn't buy it straight off the bat. No, if they were to produce like a strictly modern version of Battlefield, I'd just wait for some sales probably like a year to 18 months down the road, just like I did with Battlefield 5. So yeah, like I was saying, I've been watching a lot of videos. We've got Blue Drake's point of view. Westy was saying it needs to be modern. And that kind of got me thinking because I'm seeing various sort of YouTube commentators pulling in different directions, and I thought, what would I like to see? And I came up with the following few ideas. First of all, I wouldn't want to see just one theatre of war or one time period. I'd like to see multiple different time periods. Now, this isn't an idea I got myself. I actually got it, well, it's basically a ripped-off idea from Project Reality. Now, if you don't know what Project Reality is, that originally started life as a Battlefield 2 mod back in the day being 2007, 2008, and the latest version came out just recently, so you can still play it today. Now, the way PR does it is each and every single map can be a different scenario. So we have World War II, we have Chechen rebels, the Falklands, the Middle East conflicts. In fact, you can basically do anything. And this is what I'd like a company like EA/DICE to be able to do. In fact, they've been making Battlefield since, was it 2002? So they must have an absolutely gigantic database of assets which are just screaming to be polished up, updated and put into a game. So why not make a game that caters to all tastes? Obviously this would be a hell of a lot of hard work. All those assets, all those theatres of war, that's going to be a big ask. Most probably in money and definitely in hard drive space. But you know what? For something that particular, I would gladly give up half a terabyte. Now this kind of multiple scenario idea is something I'd really love to see. I know some of you might not agree, but me personally, I'm the kind of guy who gets a little bit bored when I'm playing the same sort of scenario game after game. Now some of you might be screaming out your PC's going, well, play Armour then, but you know, I'd rather avoid playing Armour because it can be a bit of a jank fest. And when it comes to casual shooty fun, I'd rather stay in the Battlefield universe that DICE has created, even though they have lost their way in the last game. And speaking of losing their way, what the hell was all that Battle Royale about? If I'd wanted to play Battle Royale, I'd play a Battle Royale game. That's not why I buy Battlefield. Now this leads me on into game modes. And if you'll pardon the pun, DICE really need to tighten up their game on this, because they've been falling into the trap, and I noticed this over the last couple of games of Battlefield 5 and one where they just had too many modes, which people weren't playing and only really served to dilute the player base and sort of direct them away from the flagship modes. And while Rush is still a classic in my opinion, Conquest, their flagship mode, really needs to go back to the drawing board, because at the moment matches just degenerate into the farce of cap a point, lose a point, cap a point, lose a point, and you notice a circular pattern taking place, which reminds me of a dog chasing its own tail. And therefore, as an objective focused player myself, I don't find these kind of games at all satisfying. Something that might help counteract the absurd nature of the mode would be maybe to reintroduce the commander mode, but make it a lot more satisfying and meaningful. A bit more like it used to be in Battlefield 2. Now, it was reintroduced with Battlefield 4, but it was very much kind of like a superfluous role, which had no real bearing on the outcome of any battle. And moving on from the larger scale encounters, I wouldn't mind seeing some more intimate ones, perhaps a 5v5 mode with multiple scenarios. Although thinking about it, that might actually detract from the main game, so I'm not too sure. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. But one thing I think we can all agree on is we don't want to see another Battle Royale now, do we? Okay, so now we've covered modes. What else would I like to see? Well, I would like to see some meaningful progression, rather like the kind of progression we had in Battlefield 4. Since Battlefield 1 and 5 came out, I've just felt the progression just didn't really make any sense at all to me. Whereas in Battlefield 4, it was presented in a much more concise and clear-cut way. It was easy to see how far you'd progressed, which gun you were going to unlock, and which attachments you were going to get next. It was just a lot more logical, and I missed that. And finally, let's move on to that one thing which would be awesome to have, but we're never going to get it, and that would be modding. I've never really understood why huge companies don't embrace the idea of modding. I know they do it to protect their investment, and therefore they can sell the next game in a series. However, I feel that if you introduce modding, that builds goodwill, and that makes people more predisposed to actually buying your next game. It wouldn't be the only factor, but it certainly helped. After all, just think how many Battlefield units the possibility of being able to do a next-gen Project Reality would shift. Right, so that's kind of it for me. So let's just TLDR and recap this shopping list of things I want in the next Battlefield. 1, I want all the toys. 2, I want all the wars. 3, I want quality game modes and a reworking of the existing ones. 4, logical and satisfying progression. 5, modding. And 6, and this is a cheeky bonus, I'd like DICE and EA to realise that selling video games is like selling fridges, cars or anything else. As long as you give the customer what they want and you don't take the piss, they'll always come back for more. They seem to have forgotten that over the last few years. Right, so those are a few of the things I'd like to see in the next Battlefield game. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know in the comments down below. But that's all we've got time for in this video, so as always, don't forget to help me feed the YouTube algorithm by liking and subscribing, and I will catch you next time. But until then, stay safe and wash those hands.